Hi, this is Creed Shepherd from Enduring Puberty Press, and I am doing this right now because I want you to buy my chapbook, my fourth chapbook of poems, Rapport Privilege. My first one that's not self-published. It was published by Spartan Press, based in Kansas City, Missouri, and I want to thank largely Jason Reberg and the folks who helped them at Spartan Press. Uh, so copies of this are available, and I like to hand deliver them or mail them during Puberty Press. If you go to it, you'll get a little bit of an explanation about of what we're about. And I do say we, although I'm the main operator, editor of the magazine, the annual magazine, which also just came out recently. Um, but this is also available if you're in the Lawrence area. It's available at the Raven Bookstore, and I believe it's going to be $12. This also I can mail this. It'll also be $12. If you do 13, you'll be subscribed to our 2018 mail parcel, which will come out randomly. It'll be a surprise. It may be an envelope of trinkets. It may be a long letter. It may be a postcard, mangled, manipulated, repurposed, assemblage, something in the mail. But that's how I like to do that. You can send a check to the address, and that is listed on the website. And all you have to do is type in Enduring Puberty Press on your search engine, and at least on Google, that'll be the first thing. That'll be the first result. Is my website, my blog. So this the artwork is done by my friend, the really super great artist, Gregory Thomas, and he painted the painting here was actually taken partly from, well, all of it, but part of a sculpture I made for the cover of my third chapbook, which is also Rapport Privilege, but this is update variation. Half of it's a completely new book. So copies available, $12, but $13 if you want the mail parcel. And if you want to take it another step and double that, you will get the 2018 issue number 2 of our magazine, which I will be talking about later on the next video. Privacy Invades Back. So I'm going to get into reading this. I mean, if you really like contemporary poetry in general, and I don't mean spoken word as much, but, the written word, although I'm definitely I like to move in the direction of performance to some degree. If you like contemporary written word poetry, then I really recommend that you get it, and tell me what you think. Other than that, I really can't. I can't really speak for myself. But thank you, loved ones, for supporting me. I've had a little bit of positive feedback so far, but yeah, I just want to explain. So that pretty much write 3 types of poems generally. Doesn't do it justice, but so there are larger, sprawling, longer forms where a couple different narratives kind of intersect to make one. Very non-linear, very much self-interrogating. And that really does deal with a language, always questioning language, and the relationship between the ontological relationship with language, I guess you could say. And the title Rapport Privilege is basically, I mean, of course, I'm in a sort of peripheral discussion with all of the social justice movement language that has come out in the last 3.5 years, amid the huge explosion of the fight for justice for transgender or all genders, really. Ultimately, people wanting to smash the patriarchy. Certainly, yeah, racial justice. And so I'm not. I don't preach. I don't write something that's just like stridently affirming or negating something. But I'm interested in the language, and I think that a lot of the terminology that's used by so-called social justice warriors, um, and sometimes it does them a disservice in the context that it's used, because I mean, it can come across as very elitist because these words are not self-evidently understood. Um, so, and just like with anything, including the world of poetry itself, there's a tradition, there's an ongoing dialogue amongst many people, practitioners in it, and who cares if the public doesn't get it? Well, of course, when it comes to politics, it's not. We don't have the privilege of being elitist like that. So it's kind of questioning, sometimes making fun of, sometimes taking up these terms in different ways. So that's definitely plays in there, and that's definitely in that one kind of that I mentioned, the first type I mentioned of the kind of poems I write. The second one is kind of basically a documentary poetry style. I often just adopting another narrator's voice. Sometimes it's just found conversation or picked up from conversation. There's a lot of that, and it's more straight understood. Then the third one goes more towards abstract lyric, and there's definitely some overlap between the third one and the first one. But this is where there gets to be a point in the poem where there is a concrete image of something, an intellection that just dissipates into musicality. So I'm going to try to read a poem that represents each of those three. The first one I'm going to read is the title poem, Rapport Privilege, and my shit is freezing up now. This is going to be interesting to watch when I play it back. Okay, I'll trust that it's gonna go okay. To try to share the dilettante's experience, some have even credited it with replacing museums logically. Logically? These homely drawings, poems, and songs, embracing everyone within the privacy of. Homely is a euphemism for retarded, itself an epithet for intellectually disabled. But we mean homely in the way that many intellectually disabled people look absolutely beautiful, and some intellectually enabled people look beautiful only in the way we think intellectually disabled people do, abandoning the footnotes of transgressions. What a path to take! Is it a shameless conceit or some kind of undiagnosed mental illness? What a path to devise! Thinking outside the box requires a literal cardboard box to advertise the support of unalienated labor. Playing with the idea that Adam was a mere first denoter, $3. Playing with it a cappella, $5. So resentment takes its step toward oblivion, and wounds from the dictatorship of capital gently exits is not a cliche, for more exciting, rugged individualism that permeates through the streets is a cliche. The word cliche, not much of one, merely a necessary first step to begin conversation. Now stick your salacious head back in your hearth tent conversation. No, not subjectifying you today. No, 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 no. An indirect benediction in this, a result of the lack of conversation. Then there's this non-consensual sex the boys and girls have at the school. Non-consensual sex is a euphemism for rape. We, who only witness the testimonies, our straight men's mouths no longer wide open, mildly filtering the salutary growls, prototypically erecting an inept transformation from her victimhood to some fetishized demystification of the rapist in all his hygiene-challenged chat room isolation. He, without meaningful rapport, with nothing without the habitual propulsion to assert a fixed subjectivity, that dreams a collective maker of his victimhood, that meets a salutary growl and probably weaponry. You'll see how we are the kneecap of the joke. Our mouth wants to open wide and mildly filter the salutary growl. As for we who have rapport privilege, they say rapport privilege rules a nation, or a mass of, or 1 or 2 dozen lines that'll manage to survive its decay, you can tell. One's accentuating of tits, ass, hips, and the color pink cannot remain a concept alone, at best a means to liberate for real. So that's maybe halfway through the title poem, Rapport Privilege. I tried to give the best part of it. So the second one, this is definitely something that was made possible by somebody referenced in the third one that I'm going to read. And this is kind of from a conversation late in the night, intoxicated. Foreign youth ambassadors. Foreign exchange student. The sexiest names that bring me back to the moment. Talking about those names. Parents together, am I tripping? Most of them were from Mexico or Bulgaria. One night we were chillin', looking at everybody's passports, and there was my mom with her purse, Dad and her standing, looking pissed and embarrassed at the same time. They looked busted at the FYA dorm. I've always loved foreign exchange students. It seems so perfect. Something so ironic about it. Not in the way I loved cats or broccoli. My favorite Bulgarian, there was an Albanian too. It started with an R. What the fuck? Why was he doing there? He gave me my first Zippo. Mom and Dad were then still nostalgic for their first post-honeymoon phase. Did you ever have a fascination with foreign exchange students? They always had experiences to tell. I wasn't one to talk to strangers. No, don't say strangers. I was too shy to befriend them. It's hard to find strangers in a small town. I know what you mean, I said. Lieselor from the Netherlands, taller than I, red hair, cheekbones, narrow eyes, not as amazing as yours, but was beautiful with peach fuzz mustache. That's a sacred document you're typing into. She argued against there being a god, and played a duchess who fled Russia during the revolution. We sang Michelle together at prom. I loved the last moments of the aristocracy, right before their country loses the war. And this last one that I'm going to read to you, I believe it's called The Long Moment. I believe that's what it's called. The sound of money is very quiet indeed, and there is Bocchetto, the simplest and most explicit tally criterion on the Bohemian Index. That is a thing. Guest lists of shared hopes and values are not the X factor. The thing will insulate us from noise, the business world, anything dubbed enhanced, then pink lines and pink drills across the land. Making this observation, and yet I am Peter Pan, a euphemism for not outside of loser spectrum, falling back in terror for myself, for placebo conversations that must catch on. My life still synecdoche for body of rash and fatigue. But there is Bocchetto, and it potentially affects over the whole brain, till a series of movements is only recognized as a whole state. Ronald Reagan was ridiculed as an actor without a moment. Nevertheless, influential friends and party members persevered. I can't believe I am loved by you this much, Jamie. Can't loved by this much. I can't believe I'm loved by you this much, Jamie. Can't believe this much, Jim. I a e I I oo a e I a e I I oo I a e. That was harder. Now I need to really stretch out my stomach muscles. So anyway, that's a sample of Rapport Privilege. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy it so much that you want to buy a copy and read it, because ultimately most of these works are made to be appreciated on the paper. My own unique, to some, seductive, my pubescent sounding voice, be damned. Yeah, it's the written word. Thank you very much for listening, and email me at blame, BLAME, creed, at gmail.com, and for more information, and send me your postal address, and I will get postal with you. I mean, I'll send you correspondence in the mail, and I'm always happy to talk about the work, the play, rather. Thanks very much.